Welcome to week 5. We're at that tipping point in the session where we're now officially in the second half of the session. And I just wanted to let everyone know that I think things are going really, really well, especially with the discussion boards. Thank you so much for your participation and sharing your wisdom that we all have. My experience of this class is really a good demonstration of what a seminar should be about, that it isn't about learning just from me or from the textbooks that we're reading, but where the real learning is coming from is from ourselves and from sharing what we are learning with everybody else in the class and how we learn from each other. So keep up the good work, keep up the participation in the discussion boards. Thank you for all of the time and work that you're putting into this class. It's what's making it a really great experience for everyone. A review of week 4. We had the topics of Franciscan values, common good, and just started our warm up on the conversation on diversity this last week. And Franciscan values, you all completed your second deliberation paper, which focused on Viterbo's core values and how we can witness them being expressed in the life of St. Francis and also in our own lives. And if we don't feel like they have been, that we've been expressing those values in our own lives, how we can seek to express them in the future. The common good was also a common theme last week. That was really delved into in Loeb chapter 5, which talked about how our choices and our actions ripple through the community, and how that really is the idea of behind the common good is that when we do things that we don't seek to further ourselves or our own personal interests, but we make choices with the good and benefit of all, including ourselves, but that everyone benefits, and by making choices that are motivated in that way, how really we create a society, a just society, by doing that. And then in Loeb, also chapter 6, which focused on the importance of stories, something that you're finding we do a lot of in this class, is the sharing of stories. And why that is important is that I think that we really demonstrate our commonality, how we have much more in common as humans than we do differences. And we certainly are different. We certainly are unique individuals. And we are studying difference and diversity in this class. But to balance that while we're so very different, we also are so very much the same. And how when you can look at yourself and others through both of those lenses of the beauty of uniqueness and our sameness at the same time, how our love for brother and sister is really expressed in a beautiful way. And then our sharing of stories is also a source of inspiration for each other. How we can be inspiring for other people in our stories, even though when we tell our stories, we think, oh, well, that's pretty mundane, or really I haven't done a whole lot. Well, you would be surprised how your story will inspire someone else to action, or just inspire courage or hope, or or a new idea in someone else. And that is why it's so important for us to share our stories, no matter how insignificant we might think our personal story is. And then lastly, we also had started to talk about diversity through the Immigration Discussion Board. And there are a couple of local resources that I wanted to make you aware of that serves the immigrant population here in the La Crosse area. The first is called Centro Latino. It is located in the First Baptist Church on West Avenue in La Crosse. It used to be the same space where the Catholic Charities Warming Center was located. The Warming Center has moved downtown to 3rd Street, like very near to where the Mississippi Bridge is. And now in that old space where they used to be on West Avenue is Centro Latino. The purpose of this center is to be a resource to Hispanic immigrants in our community. They can come there. There will be someone who has some level of fluency in Spanish, so they can more easily communicate, and they will be given assistance, access, referred, connected to resources in our community that can help with housing and food security, consultation with immigration issues, basically whatever healthcare, basically whatever help they need, they can get connected with someone in the community that can help them out. There was this organization came into existence because a group of people in our community realized that the Hispanic immigrant population here in the La Crosse area was having a difficult time accessing the resources that are available due to language barrier, and due to some cultural aspects of the Latino community that made it not as easy for them to access the wide variety of resources that we do have available here in the Coulee region. And then another resource that is available is the St. Clair Health Mission. And I know that many of you, especially those nursing students out there, are familiar with this resource already. It's interesting that this organization has kind of shifted gears with what their mission was. Previously, and in fact, it has several times during its history. The St. Clair Health Mission was originally called the Indo-Chinese Health Mission. It was established as a health resource for the Hmong and Laotian immigrant community that was coming to our area. And as that community became more established, and Gunderson and St. Francis, which is now Mayo Health System, began to really start to do outreach for that community themselves, the St. Clair's Health Mission, or the Indo-Chinese Health Clinic, as it originally was called, that need no longer existed so much for that population, and so St. Clair's changed focus to be a resource to anyone in our community who didn't have health care insurance, or couldn't afford to go to the clinic. Basically anyone who was having, for whatever reason, was having problems accessing health care, that was a place you could go and be seen and get some help taking the next steps into getting well. With the Affordable Health Care Act, however, now that everyone is required to have health insurance of some sort, they have once again needed to change their focus. And so St. Clair's Health Mission focus now is on the Hispanic immigrant community, because and specifically those who are here undocumented, because even though the Health Care Act exists, those who are undocumented can't access that system, can't get into the market, the insurance marketplace, that if you have no other option, you can go find an affordable option there, or have your own health insurance through an employer. Because they're undocumented, they don't have access to either of those options. And so the clinic is there for those people to be able to get healthcare access. And it's also there, they also have specialists there now to help people who haven't been able to access the marketplace, the healthcare marketplace yet. They have like counselors there who can help explain, navigate through that whole process, which I'm sure many of you have experienced is not the easiest. So they kind of have a new dual purpose again, but one of those being with the undocumented Hispanic immigrants in our community. So that was last week. Looking on to week 5 here, the learning focus is going to be diversity. We're going to really trudge into that now, and looking at life balance. So we have a new reading, we have a new book. This one here, Johnson, Privilege, Power, and Difference. This week you are to read the introduction through chapter 5. Now this book really focuses on the topic of privilege, and specifically the idea of white privilege here in the United States. To kind of give you a warning, this is an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, mainly people who happen to be white or in a privileged position. In the United States, the top privileged position is white males between the ages of 30 to 50. It is a challenging topic. It's an uncomfortable topic because most of us are in a place where we grew up not to be racist, to be aware of diversity, to even to celebrate diversity, to be politically correct, in regards to diversity. And so the topic of white privilege, and that despite being educated, being raised to not be racist, that we still are in a privileged position, and what that means. And a lot of people, it's difficult for us in this privileged position to, first of all, we're embarrassed to admit that we have privilege, and because we have been born into privilege, because it is such an ingrained part of our experience, it's oftentimes kind of difficult for us to recognize. And so that's what the purpose of this book is to explain privilege, the concept of privilege, help us recognize it, and for us to learn how we can use our privilege to the benefit of others. And And that really is key, because we can use our privilege to either to help the oppressed, or we can use it to further oppression. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're furthering oppression. So it's really about creating that awareness in ourselves, so that as we move forward, it's like another tool that we can add to our anti-discrimination belt. If it's important to you to not be racist, to stand up to prejudice, to celebrate diversity, being aware of your privilege, especially if you're a white person here in the United States, being aware of your white privilege is another tool you can have in your tool belt in being an advocate for those who do not have the privilege you have. And then also, as a matter of clarification too, privilege is not something that just exists here in the United States. It exists everywhere. Every society has some amount of privilege and oppression. Every society does. And it's not always just white people or white males that are in the privileged position. It varies from society to society. Privilege can be based on like what region you were born in. It can be based on sex. It can be based on familial relationships. It can be based upon what caste or class you are born into. There's a whole variety of factors depending on the society you are in that will denote who is in the privileged position. So that from my past experience is a misconception that I became aware of, that a lot of people have, that this is like a United States issue, and just has to do with like the black and white issue here in the United States. It's not. Privilege, it exists everywhere, and has a different face depending on what country, what society, what community we're talking about. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and just to be prepared that a lot of icky stuff might come up in you, and that's normal. Just be prepared. Okay, let's see what else about that. Oh, and then the other reading for this week is in Soul of a Citizen, Loeb, Chapter 7, and this chapter is entitled Values, Work, and Family, and that's where we're getting that life balance topic in. This chapter, Loeb talks about purpose and discovering purpose in our life, and how we can activate our purpose, not only through getting involved politically or in various nonprofits or causes or advocacy work, but that our work, our job can also express our purpose, and how people who are able to express their purpose through their job tend to have higher job satisfaction, whereas those who, for whatever reason, aren't able to connect their purpose with their income generating work tend to experience less job satisfaction. He also really brings in that idea of work-life balance, and how, especially here in the United States, since that's the lens he's writing through, because of capitalism, that he identifies capitalism as being the instigator of imbalance with life, work, family, and how that imbalance affects not only your work, but also your family life and your ability to get involved in your community in a number of ways. It's a really interesting chapter. It's one that last semester, some people who really weren't engaged in the class suddenly got really engaged. It seemed to hit a nerve with people. People really seemed to be able to relate to this chapter, and I hope you'll find the same thing. So assignments for this coming week. You will begin work on our third deliberation paper. So begin that research and outline writing. This paper focuses on prejudice and discrimination. So the topic points, what I'm going to be looking for in this paper is that you explain why you believe that prejudice and discrimination exists in American culture. I'm looking for you to share a personal experience where you dealt with some type of discrimination. Now, this doesn't have to be a racially based discrimination. There are all sorts of discrimination. Age, disability, gender, sexual orientation, you name it. Look at Johnson. He outlines a whole list of different types of discrimination factors where privilege and oppression come into play. So share an experience, a personal experience when you dealt with some form of discrimination. Give details about the situation and clearly explain the dynamics that set that discrimination into motion. And then I'm also looking for you to offer a researched solution to ending the type of discrimination that you describe in that personal experience. End the paper with a personal reflection on what lessons you learned and what future actions can be taken. As always, it's 3 to 5 pages, and so that everybody's on the same page. The Viterbo paper formatting standard is to use Times New Roman font, 12-point size, and normal margins. That is, if your paper isn't formatted that way, I put it into that to determine if your paper fit within that 3 to 5 page allotment. And then the rubric is the same deliberation paper rubric that we have been using. That third deliberation paper will be due on Sunday, February 21st. So once again, you have 2 weeks to work on this paper. For Loeb, Chapter 7, we have the question and answer essay assignment. This is due on Sunday, February 14th. Just a general reminder as I continue to grade these weekly assignments. Remember, this is not a book report. What we're looking for here is your analysis, your thoughts, what you can add to something specific that you read in that chapter. So in this case, in chapter 7, that's something that really spoke to you when you were reading the chapter. That's a great thing to pick. So in your analysis of that topic, you will analyze it using personal experience and classroom learning. Don't forget to use both of those in order to get full points. There's been a tendency for people to use either personal experience or classroom learning, or people aren't using either and they're just using other insights from the Loeb reading to analyze that specific bit that they're talking about, which then it's very easy for things to just morph into being a book report. Classroom learning, a definition for that, since we don't actually have a classroom, is I'm looking for you to integrate, to connect something that you learned from some other aspect of the class. For instance, other required learning outside of Loeb. So maybe you read something in Johnson here and you can connect that to something in chapter 7. Something that you learned through a discussion board posting that you read. Videos. Maybe there's something in a video that you can connect. Some weeks we have additional documents that we read besides text. Something there. I even allow you to incorporate, like in the writing of the deliberation papers, some of that outside research. Maybe some of that will connect into this Loeb reading. And so, once again, cite your sources, so I can differentiate between what is classroom learning and what is just stuff in your brain that you're bringing to the analysis, or a personal experience. And you want to use, I'm going to clarify here again, you want to bring in both personal experience and classroom learning, integrate that into your analysis of the Loeb chapter to get full points. There are 2 discussion boards this week. The first is the bias discussion board. And in this discussion, for your initial post, where you're asked to tell us a story of a time that you personally experienced or witnessed diversity-based bias. Now, bias, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, bias is a preconceived notion or perhaps a stereotype that people have that affect their interactions, affect their judgments. Bias can be positive or it can be negative. A lot of times people hear the word bias and they immediately think, oh, that's negatively tainting someone's reaction to a person or a situation. No, actually, a bias can also favorably taint the situation. But it's a preconceived notion that we have about a certain demographic based on gender, race, sexual orientation, disability, whatever. So you're going to tell us a story about a time that you personally experienced or witnessed diversity-based bias, and then you're going to use the online discussion board participation rubric in answering that question. Make sure everyone's been doing a really good job. At this point, what people, if they're going to lose points, what they tend to be losing points on are that they're forgetting to ask a pertinent question, and you want to ask this pertinent question in response to something that one of your fellow classmates wrote. So that is the first discussion board. The second discussion board is on, it's a video discussion on the video whiteface. First of all, the video link is on Moodle. If any of you have problems with accessing that video, please let me know. I know in the, quite honestly, I've never used these video links. The last time I taught this class, I actually had like CDs for these videos to show in class. And these links were provided to me, so I'm not quite sure how they all work through Moodle, and depending on whether you've got Macintosh or a PC or what sort of operating system you're running or what sort of software you've got on your computer, everybody's computers are different. So if you are having problems accessing the video, let me know right away so we can figure out how you can access this video. So once you have accessed the video, in the discussion board, you are to summarize the video and then offer your reaction to the video. Use the video online discussion rubric that's in the Adult Learner's Guide. In using that rubric, what I'm looking for is that you bring in some outside materials to enhance your understanding of the video or to support your reaction to the video. And then also that you offer a personal story or another's story that you were reminded of, that came forward for you when you were watching the video. Share that with us. So that is week 5 in a nutshell. Once again, things have been going really well. I have been enjoying the discussion boards immensely. And I've enjoyed reading those deliberation papers as well. Look forward to getting the grading going on your second deliberation papers. So if you have any questions, as always, email me, text me. That's the best way to get in touch with me. And I'm here to help you be successful. So get in touch with me whenever you need to. Thanks a lot, and hope you guys are making it through February. Take care.